We have Season 78 coming up, and feels like everything cool they had saved up is shoved into next season. We're experimenting with new ways to optimize defenses. Building bunkers sounds like a stupid idea, so we're gonna try that next. And yes, finally, the one defense that we've never had in Warships before, everyone's gonna unlock it at 2 engines. Now a lot of people may have no idea how these work, they're unlocked at HQ 26, but either way, they work a little bit different in Warships. So pretty cheap to unlock, and at level 1 you get basically nothing. You have a level 1 bunker with 1 housing space, and troops are too large to even fit in. But as you upgrade it, you can get some more housing space, 2 more bunkers, more housing space, all the while it's pretty cheap to upgrade. And the last upgrade you get 4 bunkers in total. Now the way they work in Warships is, they use whatever troops you have unlocked, so you can add some Grens in some of them, have massive ranges. But let's say Zukas, if you want to unlock them, then you have that option in putting in your bunkers. You'll notice heavies and Zukas have the icon next to them, they shoot air troops. Might be important later on. But another thing is, whatever levels your troops are, those are the same levels in the bunkers. So even if you're not using Grens, but you want them in your bunkers, may be a reason to max them out. Even later on, if you use other troops like cryos and lasers, could be worth unlocking them just for the sake of bunkers. And how are they actually going to work? Well, let's test it out. Here we can just use a few heavies, a few Zooks. 2 engines have no gunboat abilities, and see what happens. We have Zookas in half the bunkers, Grens in the other half. And uh-oh, looks like our Zooks are dying. The one time where you like the overthrow of Grens. So it might be a bit RNG if you're using heavies and Zooks, because maybe one hit, your Grens miss everything, Zookas stay alive, and the other hit, they all die to Gren shots. And that especially might be true if you have bunkers towards the back and being smart with defense placement. Otherwise at 2 engines you have this multi-node. Could be worth getting troop damage even more, because the more troop damage you have, the more damage troops in your bunkers do. And 4 of them is a lot too, especially in the main island, you can only have a max of 2. Otherwise at 3 engines you have some different paths. You can have a proto right here, maybe not too strong right now. 1 more bunker in a multi-node, so now we got 5 of them. If you want flare, you have to go with the warriors. There's a troop boost for heavy, Zookas, and brick. And we've had plenty of troop boosts, but the second new thing in this season is a choose your own troop node, because we don't have any of those 3 troops earlier in the tree. So if we get something like clone rifles and you want to attack, you have clone rifles. If you want to swap them to something like tanks, then you don't have clone rifles anymore, but you have full level tanks. So this is the first time where you can actually unlock your own troop that you want to use. I would think a lot of people want to go with clone rifles, they're a great meat shield. But another thing about clone rifles is now you can actually put them in bunkers. And not only doing this because it's cool putting proto troops in bunkers, but let's see what happens if you want to use even normal troops like heavies and Zookas versus a bunker with clone rifles. It's not going to do too much damage on its own, but as they pop, you have all those clones, and just imagine the stalling power that those clones are going to have. Clearing style hits like heavies and Zooks, even later on heavy choppers and bombers, they might be pretty tough with these bunkers. And of course the Gren's doing a great job killing those Zookas. So that troop node, cool to think about, and then we have 4 engines. We notice that the deck gets a bit bigger, but the left ramp opens up. And the third new thing about this season is, we have Zooka squad leaders. This one we've never seen before, the heavy fangirl, basically the exact opposite of the Zooka fanboy. Instead of 1 heavy that does a ton of damage, it's 1 Zooka that has a ton of health. And we can see them in action a bit later on. But otherwise, in 4 engines here, we have some more troop damage. Again, these impact the troops in your bunkers. And I wonder what's under boom mines. Well, if you want, another bunker. So a total of 6 bunkers this season, and whether or not it's going to break the season, I guess we'll find out. But I don't think bunkers are going to be as bad as critter launchers when they first came out. In any case, another troop boost. Again, they impact the troops in their bunkers, doing even more damage. But till now we have troop damage, troop health, so no building health or building damage. So even though we have 6 bunkers, it may not be too stacked in favor of defense. As we go further, we can open up 5 engines. You can already see a sneak peek of the next squad leader. And we have the Ninja Zook. It's just one boat of Zookas that are invisible, kind of like undercover riflemen or hidden warriors, and they look pretty cool. Otherwise, rocket choppers in the bottom. The one season that maybe you want to pick up cryos just to put in your bunkers. Otherwise, you have mines, a level 3 proto this season, and the third and final squad leader, the Muka. That's basically like one boat of Zookas with the same range as a bomber, and just splash like a Gren. So now with all 3 Zooka squad leaders, let's see them in action. The Ninja Zooka is probably the easiest to show. As soon as you drop it, it's gonna be invisible. And all these squad troops have a squad flare. So you can take them all the way to the end of the map, and while they're invisible, the only main threat is Simmos and mines. And then you have that heavy fangirl, and the Muka can drop them right there. Now we did fill these bunkers with cryos and clone rifles, so we see them in action. Cryos are gonna slow down our troops, so that one Zooka with a ton of health, and the Muka with a ton of range. Because they do splash, could be even better against clone rifles. Either way, still taking a ton of time being stalled by those rifles. But those are the 3 squad leaders in action. If you are buying anything in the shop like instant training, boom pass, admiral's key, would appreciate if you use a creator code. If you want to support this channel, you can use code Stoneheart. Now Zookas are in a dead end path, so what happens if you unlock a squad leader but don't have Zookas yet? All you're gonna see is once you go to the attacking menu, you just won't have any option to use Zookas. Just a few keys of absolutely useless tech. And another question might be, can you use damage amps in bunkers? So let's try it out. They do affect the normal buildings, but as far as actual bunkers go, the only way you can make them stronger is with your own troop health and troop damage. Plus, whatever levels you have them in your tree, they're going to be the levels of troops in the bunkers. Lasers are here too at 5 ER, another nasty thing to put in bunkers, and then 6 engines. At 6 ER, you finally have a chance to use other strong troops. You get critters, heavy choppas, seekers, and if you want, a seeker boost. We didn't really cover the other hero boost earlier on, because here you can get a Kavan boost. What this means is if you already have it maxed out, is the level 7 abilities on Kavan, you get another level on crystal critters, nothing on ice shields, and nothing on second wind. So maybe not super strong, though I guess you can have extra galvanizing presence. But the other hero boost we have this season is for Bullet. We would have to go along the stat end to get Bullet first, max him out. And already, if you didn't know, when you have Bullet, it's level 6 taunt, 6 string, and only level 5 shock knuckles. So if we go ahead and boost him up, you would think he gets level 7 taunt, level 7 drink, but all you get instead is, if you look at him now, still level 6s, just that shock knuckles now matches it, which might be for the best, because having level 7 taunt might make Seekers even stronger. We have this top path, shock launchers, critter launchers, and troop damage. And finally, we have 7 engines. This whole tree isn't very expensive, in fact it's cheaper than last season, but we were wondering, how defensive is it gonna be with 6 bunkers? At the end of the tree at 7 ER, we have 1 ability node. Super warriors could be really strong, especially since they're impacted by troop health and troop damage. Our second and final boost node, maybe some troop health or probably building health, and still 2 more ability nodes. Top one being could have defib, tiny shock, or crystal shield. And even though you're probably not gonna pick shield, if you notice on the top right of it, it says it hits flying troops. Now if you have HCs or RCs, any flying troop, now crystal shield does affect them. So it's a free shot from a cannon, boom cannon, doom cannon. And now that they changed the shield so it lasts forever, could be really strong with choppas. The final ability node is going to be the strongest ones, Cryo Bomb, Speed Serum, and Remote Hack. So they just piled all the cool stuff at the end of the tree. We are going back to a normal season, so normal 40% reset, 3 weeks long. There is going to be HQ locks. So if you are HQ22 to reach the end, it's not a very expensive tree. And looking at max boost on the left side, you can see right there, 50% of most boosts but 90 building health and 130 troop damage. So a bit more favored in offense, but nothing too crazy. The main thing is, with all that troop damage, any troops you have in your bunkers, they're gonna be affected by it. There is a funny error that says that heavy choppas, rocket choppas are too large, so technically you could have them in bunkers, but just not enough housing space. But like we said, you can put proto troops in bunkers like clone rifles, and you saw it right, even seekers in bunkers. But because I'm sure there's so many questions about how bunkers work and their mechanics, we can talk about a few of them here. We talked about you can have proto troops like clone rifles in bunkers, and you can have seekers too. Now that might be pretty cool, but seekers, they don't do a whole lot of damage. You can see a couple of them shooting down one heavy, and if you have your own seekers, well, they just ignore them. The only two troops you can fit in bunkers that can hit air troops are heavies and Zukas. Especially Zukas, because you can see right there, a couple shots and, well, no more RCs. So even heavy choppas, and remember, even if you want to shock bunkers, they're the one defense that you can't. So shocking bunkers does nothing, those heavies and Zukas still hitting those air troops could be pretty annoying, especially in the end of the season. We can see the interaction between drones versus bunkers. The actual building, it should work like normal. Drones should just take it down. And let's see if they actually kill the normal troops. Rifles doing a bit of stuff, but the drones are popping the rifles. Super warriors versus bunkers might work pretty similar. They might be the strongest ability next season because they have so much more troop health, troop damage now. But maybe versus all these rifles could be too much for them to deal with. But looking again, maybe they have a little bit of splash. And whether or not that's by design, looks like sometimes they stay targeted on the engine, and sometimes they go randomly somewhere else. Another thing to remember is bunkers do have this air defense, so you can't super easily use barrage artillery to take them out. Even with max artillery, we threw 5 of them, 90 building health. And if shield works on bunker troops, we can find out. Looks like it doesn't. We said before that you can't use normal shocks in a bunker, but what about tiny shocks? You use a tiny shock, are they still gonna hit? And looks like they do. But can you tiny shock the normal troops? And looks like you can't. Maybe they're too small of a hitbox, or just the fact that you can't tiny shock individual troops, but worth a test. Now we can see if cryo bomb affects the bunkers in any way. So the left side we'll leave alone, and on the right side we'll always throw cryo bombs on the bunker. See if there's any change in how the Zukas fire. So always using cryo bombs, but it looks like the Zukas don't shoot any slower. But the other test we can do is, does cryo bomb affect the actual troops that come out of it? And if you see, looks like it does. They get damaged, and they shoot a lot slower. We can run the same test for speed serum. The left side we'll leave alone, and on the right, we'll always speed serum that bunker. See what happens. So on the right, it does show the bunker is affected, and well, that's a lot faster, making the Zuka shoot like a machine gun. So if you do choose speed serum and accidentally throw it on a bunker, you better watch out. And there is a cool interaction that if you have some troops on this side, and let's say drop a hero somewhere else, you can actually speed serum the own troops too. They're gonna run super fast, well, as fast as they can, and once they get there, do their magic. Let's see how long it takes for Kavan to die. 4 clones going there, Kavan all by his lonesome, and there he goes. And the final test that we're gonna do is what happens when you hack a bunker. When you throw a remote hack, you take control of the actual bunker, so the enemy troops pop out and start attacking it because the bunker is kind of like your own now. Once the bunker is finished hacking, then it's like any normal troop where bunker's down and they're gonna start attacking your own stuff. So even with all that, there still might be more questions you have about bunkers, so let me know if you have any and what you think about bunkers in this season. It's another brand new thing they're trying out, and we'll all see how it works together. Should have a texture guide out tomorrow talking more about starting pass, but that's gonna be it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.